Alright, today we're going to jump into the MOG price action, how it compares to Doge and where we could be in the cycle right now, as well as we'll talk about Bitcoin. And since I did start this YouTube channel off telling everyone to buy MOG when it was at $20 million market cap, now that once again we are breaking into price discovery, new all-time highs was achieved today on MOG, sitting at around $700 million market cap, breaking into the top 100 cryptocurrencies. I thought it would be a great opportunity to revisit price action here, but I am not saying to FOMO in now, and I actually want to save this till the end of the video, so make sure to watch all the way through if you do want to get my thoughts on where we are in the market when we're using these meme coins to prepare. First off, let's go ahead and start off with the Bitcoin price action, because we do have some updates on the chart when it comes to this. In my last video, we had talked about, these trend lines, how they had been continually respecting very nicely, how we had this golden pocket from swing low, swing high. We wanted to see this get flipped back into support, and we have seen a third tap up against this 618. And if you know anything about testing levels, the more times you test it, the more likely it is to break. So the fact that we have tested this trend now 4 times, the golden pocket 3 times, I do actually expect it to break now. I do think it's likely. We're going to go ahead, flip this into support, and head on up here to all-time highs. The low looks a lot better now. We went ahead, tested this secondary volume level that we had down here from last video. You can see it got a nice pixel touch right on it. It didn't quite sweep this level here. It didn't quite get into the CME gap. As you can see here, we had a lower CME gap down in this golden pocket to 786 within here, which I had posted in the Discord to be watching out for that. This is where I was looking to take a long potentially, but as you can see, we had a secondary CME gap up higher. Price was not able to accept below that, and we got a nice bounce front running all of these buyers down below. If we look on Trading Light, we had all of these big walls down below, but I do always say with these massive walls in the order books, while it is big support and price can be attracted to them, a lot of times price will like to front run these orders and not let them get the price they want, meaning these buyers will have to FOMO up higher, assuming we have a reversal to the upside. You can also see within here just an absolute ton of 100 to 200 Bitcoin buy walls all throughout here on the order books. This is very unusual to see within here. Normally on price we don't have that many walls. There's a lot of gaps within the heat map here. Obviously I can extend this out and we can get every single order, but I like to focus on 100 Bitcoin plus buy walls within here, and you see just tons of them, tons of big buyers scooping up price right at this level within here, showing massive order book support, and is likely why we were not able to accept below. And we do see those orders moving on up. You see 300 Bitcoin wall moving on up, trying to FOMO into price because they see this reversal from our good low. We had talked about in my last video how we had poor lows on the TPO profile. If we go over to my TPO sessions workspace in here, you can see that on our last daily profile, we see no single print tails at the bottom of this profile, creating a poor low. What you want to see on the price is single print tails at the top of wicks. That just shows the price clearly did not accept the level and got rejected from it more violently, whereas this was just very choppy action within here, building that liquidity lower. So you wanted to see that get swept, and we did in fact do it. I will say this isn't the best low in the world, but certainly a better low than yesterday. Pretty decent. We got one single print tail at the lows, sweeping this on a small swing failure pattern, right? If you were to take a sweep level of this, you can see 30-minute candle closes above, and we're not able to accept back down below. So certainly does look a lot better for this potentially being your low, right? I do think there's a good chance we just kind of head on up here and break through these resistance levels that have been being respected within here. I think a lot of shorts are potentially about to get squeezed, and all we want to see is when we get up to these higher levels, right? These big imbalances, this 64, 65.5 level on the charts is a massive level for me to be watching out for. I'm pretty sure price is going to get up there even in the most bearish scenario, but we do want to be watching out for that most bearish scenario in case we do swing fail this and come all the way back down and get back under the golden pocket. It's okay to swing fail this and come back down, but we want to see this golden pocket flip back into support. So these are the 2 levels to watch out for. Right here is your big resistance. Right here is also resistance, but it's already been tested multiple times, inherently meaning it's likely to break, and when it breaks we just want to see it get flipped back into support. So some things to watch out for the charts there. And of course, if we do start rolling over, coming back down, we do have those big buyers in the order books, that CME gap lower down that could potentially get tapped if we do want to sweep all this stuff. All that liquidity that has been building, getting under this level is potentially a play that could happen. So don't be too surprised if we do come down there deeper into the fibs to grab it before heading on up here to potentially make all-time highs on Bitcoin. But assuming we do rip up to all-time highs, which I think is pretty likely at this point, when we get up to this like $75 to $77, $78,000 level, wherever it ends up being after, breaking the all-time highs. If we start finding resistance up here at this level and we see meme coins going crazy, I will be very cautious at that point that retail is about to get wrong-footed, and we really have been in distribution this whole time, and that was just an upthrust after distribution and a short squeeze to grab liquidity before that final top comes in and Bitcoin rolls over for the cycle. I do believe we are still in a left translated cycle, but I'm not strict on that thesis. If I see data to prove otherwise, I will flip my outlook. But currently right now, I think a lot of indicators in both the crypto space as well as traditional finance do point to a early onset top for Bitcoin. So I would be cautious when we do break that all-time high. Look for sentiment in the markets, look for what meme coins are doing, look for news headlines that could indicate that a top is coming in this area here. And another big confluence for that, assuming price does come up here, is what is happening to open interest. Is it just a short squeeze to grab liquidity, or are there true buyers stepping in with open interest continuation to the upside? We will have to wait and see and just take it day by day. And of course, I will be keeping you guys updated every day on this channel as well. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. But now that you know kind of what we need to be watching out for here on Bitcoin, let's get into MogCoin. Let's get into these memes and let's figure out how something like MogCoin can tell us where we are in the cycle when comparing to 2021. And the coin I'm going to use for that is, of course, Dogecoin. I think this has very similar price action to Mog, and if history is to repeat, it could be giving us warning signs that we are much closer to the top than many people expect. If we go ahead and jump in here to where I think MogCoin is compared to Doge, we see a similar fractal here. We have the initial launch up out of the bear market range before a short consolidation where we make a clean double bottom before launching to the upside once again, marking the top for Bitcoin. If you remember, the first top for Bitcoin came in April, whereas we had a massive pullback, 50% pullback, in fact, on Bitcoin before making a secondary high later in 2021. And I wouldn't quite bet on that happening again. So we're going to be just taking the April timeframe as the top for Bitcoin. If we do pull back massively and have another rally, that's cool too. That's a possibility that could happen. But again, we're going to be taking stuff day by day. And if we see MOG go ahead and make this massive move to the upside, that's probably a signal to go ahead and get out of the markets. It's not just MOG, by the way. It's going to be your whole meme coin category as a whole. You would see mass euphoria in that sector like we had back in March. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Let's actually compare this fractal to where MOG coin is, and let me show you what I'm talking about. So first things first, this MOG chart is on MEXC. I didn't have the Dextos one up just because of the Medbots. There's a ton of just wicks into outer space, but I will go ahead and actually pull that up for you right now because you kind of need to see the bear market range when comparing it to Dogecoin. So we do see, back here in February, we see MOG make an initial boost up, just like Doge, right? You have this initial kind of launch up and then a quick consolidation before mooning to the upside once again. Very similar thing here happens on MOG. Launches up out of the bear market range, very quick consolidation, and then moons to the upside before a larger correction where you do see this big double bottom playing out on the charts, just like we saw with Dogecoin. If you remember, the last time I talked about this fractal was right here on the charts. I had said when MOG made this low right here that it was acting very similar to Dogecoin, and I said this is probably your last time to buy MogCoin. If you are considering buying, this is the time. And that did in fact become the low, but you did have actually one more time to scoop up some more. I know I was scooping up some more in this range. We went ahead and actually back tested the top side of this double bottom after coming up to all-time highs. This is because Bitcoin obviously had a big dump, so that's what caused this pullback within here. And then now after back testing that, the chart is really set up nicely to just kind of launch into outer space here like Doge did once we exited this double bottom. And again, I'm not saying to buy MOG right now. Even though I'm bullish and I'm not selling my MOG, you are certainly FOMOing into the highs and taking on a ridiculous amount of risk if you are buying now. There's plenty of other altcoins that are going to have around the same potential upside that aren't as risky. So I just want to get that out of the way. I'm not saying to FOMO into MOG right now. This is purely looking at it on a fractal basis to see what could happen, and if it were to happen, what it could indicate for the markets. So if MOG is to rip up to the upside here, again, not exclusive to MOG, Should see it across the board for meme coins. You could look at Dog with Hat, Pepe. A lot of these coins are making similar fractals right now. That could indicate we are right here in the cycle. And if we are right here in the cycle, that means we're already into April on Bitcoin when comparing to last cycle, which would go along with the new thesis that Bitcoin is already in Wyckoff distribution. And all we have left is one more upthrust after distribution to kind of break us into all-time highs, get that retail euphoria back into the markets before the final top does come in and we do roll over for the cycle. So yeah, this is something real interesting to keep track of on the charts. Let's see what the meme coin mania is going to do with Bitcoin coming up here, assuming we do. Is it going to be an upthrust after distribution where we top out at $75,000 to $80,000? Is Bitcoin not even going to make it to all-time highs? So yeah, this is absolutely another reason why I've been cautioning on this channel that there's a small chance the top is already in, and there's a much bigger chance that we are already in distribution for Bitcoin and the top is coming in a lot sooner than people expect. Because if you were here back in 2020, you know sentiment was not the same when we broke all-time highs. I know a lot of people are saying there's bearish sentiment right now, and I will agree that there is more bearish sentiment than you'd expect if the top is already in, but I do think as soon as you break into an all-time high at around $75,000, that euphoria will come right back into the markets just like it was in March, and we are already seeing a mass meme coin season throughout the markets, giving us that warning that we probably are in a left translated cycle and the top is not going to come in 2025. But don't leave yet. We still got some more TA to cover. I want to run through the S&P, the dollar, and the rest of the altcoin market before we do finish off for today. So first things first, the S&P, we had talked about this range. We wanted to see break to the upside. You can see a nice test of point of control, and we are currently breaking out to the upside right now. So let's see if we can actually confirm this on multiple candles and start backtesting the range as support, sending off into price discovery once again, giving Bitcoin clear skies ahead to move on up. And while the S&P was breaking out to the upside, the dollar was breaking down after getting close to this trend we had been talking about from last video. Seems like we weren't even able to break up to it. We are starting to roll over here. So this is really nice to see here. Let's also see if we can get a continuation of the downside and roll over here from this high, bringing us all the way back down to the range highs here at about 104, which again would be a signal for Bitcoin to move higher. Now let's talk about the altcoin market, starting off with Bitcoin dominance. This is something we covered yesterday. We wanted to see this bear flag get back tested and for the dominance to roll over once again, and we did see that happen pretty beautifully. If you do just pull this channel down to this wick here at the lows, you do see the channel actually get respected pretty perfectly, and for us to continue lower on the daily time frame, you can really see what I'm talking about when I say that Bitcoin dominance is switching market structure on the macro, and I do think we are potentially going to go down all the way down to the range lows at around 40% here on the dominance, which is where your altcoin season happens. And lastly, let's talk about total 3 here to see what we have going on here. And as you can assume, with Bitcoin dominance falling, we do see a continuation here on total 3, and the start of the altcoin season has officially started. Of course, when it comes to altcoins, not everything is going to moon at once, and not everything is going to moon in general. But as we do see total 3 start to lift off here, outperforming Bitcoin, we should see those alts firing off one by one. But don't get caught up in the euphoria, because we still do have big levels of resistance to get through, such as this value area low. We need to get that flipped back into support. This is a scary level because it is a macro support and resistance range from our previous bull market range, and the fact that we did fail this means it could flip back into resistance, so we want to be watching out for something like that. It is always a possibility that we do have a failed bull run this cycle, and assuming we do break out to the upside and actually backtest this is kind of what I'm expecting, is that we will go up higher, but we won't go quite as high as people expect, and we could top out at any one of these previous volume levels, sitting from the golden pocket up to the 786, and we could top out before making an all-time high on the altcoin market, which would, in my opinion, trap and wrong foot a lot of retail investors, which is a likely thing for markets to go ahead and do. So yeah, a lot of real exciting times ahead of us in the markets, but as always, let's make sure to stay vigilant and look at the data objectively. And if you do have any questions or just want to join the community for this channel, make sure to join my Discord. Link is in the description down below. I'm also running an event with BingX right now to offer some really great futures rewards that is only lasting for about 3 more days. So make sure, if you have not already, go ahead and sign up using my link down in the description, and you'll be registered to enter that event with a lot of cool rewards for you guys. And with that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.